Have you ever heard somebody say just do you or just be yourself? What does that actually mean? I'm Dr. Angel Storm and I'm the founder of Ashes to Beauty Ministries, and today I want to talk about what it actually means to do you or to be yourself. See, a lot of times we hear this phrase in society like just do you, don't worry about what other people are saying, or somebody congratulates you on being you. But we don't actually know what that means to the fullest extent all of the time when we're using that phrase, or when we hear that phrase, we sometimes don't know how to actually internalize that. What does that really mean? Like a lot of things in society, we sometimes use very quick phrases to just kind of brush something under the rug, or kind of shift the emphasis on what it should be saying, what that phrase should be conveying. And instead of really taking time to delve into that, to study it, to kind of see all of the ways that that can be applied, we just assume that somebody understands and then we move on to the next thing. But today I really want to talk to you about how to be you. And especially if you've gone through some sort of trauma, you've been in an abusive relationship, or you're getting out of a old season of life, you're progressing into a new season. These times of transition are really important, and especially with it being the new year, it's very important to understand what it means to be you. If you've been following me at all on social media for any length of time, you'll see that I talk a lot about self-care and kind of getting back to your roots, like seeing what your true self needs and feeding that. So in this context, I'm talking about your spirit, which again, as I've been speaking about in my last videos, your spirit should feed and should overtake your soul, which should overtake your body. And so your spirit should be the dominant part of what is conveyed to the world, of what you convey to yourself. This is actually what character is. Character is being the same person in public as you are in private, and not having any difference between you. And that happens when your spirit is fed so much so that it can overtake your soul, which again is your mind, your will, and your emotions. So it reforms, it sanctifies, if you will, your personality, your likes and dislikes, all of those personality traits and characteristics. And it also dominates your flesh. So the things that your body wants to go do that aren't healthy for you, your soul and your spirit are able to tell your flesh no. So for my own self personally, I felt like I knew who I was. I felt like I had vision for my life. I've always been very dedicated. I've always had a real goal-oriented mentality. I can set goals and achieve them fairly easily. And it wasn't until I was in a relationship with a narcissist, and you can check out my full testimony if you're interested. The link to that video is in this description of this one. It wasn't until that situation came up when my whole life was completely transformed. So I went from, I joined the military when I was 17, and from the time I was 17 until I was 30, 31, I had always worked for the government. And so I had always had a job working for them, and I based my, my academic pursuits off of that realm. And when all of this stuff happened with the narcissist, it really transformed, it really shifted a lot of things. It showed me how unstable the foundation of my life was, and it really forced me to transition. And during this period of transition, which was also very difficult for me, was to be still. At first, when this season came, like, I'm not a still person. I am constantly doing stuff. Not only did I get a Ph.D. by the time I was 27, and I speak 3 languages, and I've been deployed twice. By the time I was 30, I had twins. And so I was a single mom of twins. And so it's my life was very active, and I love to do other things. I have a lot of interests and hobbies and stuff like that that I feed into. So when this season came upon me where I had to kind of be still, it really forced me to take a look at things that I had been avoiding, even unknowingly avoiding. And this is really what I want to talk to you about right now, because it can be very uncomfortable when you're in a season of transition to sit and be in that position of uncomfortableness. But it's in that place where your character is formed. It's where your discipline is formed. It's actually where you find out, what am I doing with my life? If all of this stuff that I've worked for, that I had set goals for, can come crashing down around me, how can I do a better job? How can I build something that's lasting, not just for my own life, but something that I can pass on to generations that come through me? So this is what I want to talk to you about in this video. So again, sometimes we can get just so caught up in chasing things and chasing goals and getting even good goals, even like getting our family to a certain place financially, or ensuring that our kids are in a certain school district or whatever. These things aren't bad, but our lives can be so filled with goals and achievements that we need to reach. And again, nothing wrong with those. However, it's the map, if you will, that you've built those goals on. So if these things are about constructing your identity instead of allowing your identity to lead which goals you go and pursue, you're going to find yourself always feeling like you have to do more, do more, do more. And that's a sure sign that you're not connected to your identity. When you feel like there's always something else, something else, something else, it's usually a sign that you are not connected to your identity. This should not be confused with pursuing something from your identity. So if I know that I am supposed to go and do this thing or fill that position or sit in that office from my identity, in other words, I'm not getting my worth. I feel good about myself right now. I don't need to have that position in order to feel good about myself, in order to know that I'm valued, in order to know that I'm loved. You see the difference there. And so this is really what I want to talk to you about doing you. There are seasons in life where you are going to need to be still and learn to rest, and you are going to allow all of the things come to the surface. And so these can be both good things, awesome traits that you have about yourself, good characteristics, and these can also be negative things where you can see, I was really short-sighted when I was doing that, or I didn't actually think that thing through when I started planning that, when I started pursuing after that thing. And these seasons of life are not laziness. These seasons of life are not being apathetic. They are actually, you're doing a lot of internal work. Just as if you sometimes drive past construction sites on houses or on buildings, and you're like, they're not doing anything over there. What are they doing? Well, they are pouring the concrete. They're making the foundation. They're putting in the feet of what will be the building. And sometimes, the higher that you need to build the building, of course, that the deeper into the ground that you need to go. And so that is the same for our own lives. We need to be able to build a firm foundation. And so these seasons of stillness or quietness, the season of transitions, when you're really coming out of something traumatic, it can be very difficult to just sit and be quiet, because all of those feelings, those emotions, the memories, I could have done this, I should have done that, those kinds of thoughts are going to come to the surface. And it's really important that you deal with those things, because it's in that season, it's in these stillness seasons that you are going to learn who you truly are. So you're going to be connected to your identity, and you're going to be able to form a very solid path moving forward. So your plan, when you leave that season, it will be so solid, it will be airtight, it will be sealed up, and you will be ready to move forward with such clarity of vision that you wouldn't have been able to have if you were just kind of grasping at things and trying to keep up with the day as each day goes and as each day goes, and never really sitting to enjoy the moments. These seasons in life are meant for you to get your life in order. If you find yourself coming out of something traumatic, if you find yourself coming into a different type of season, things were going great, and now just things seem to not be working, this is not saying to you that you did something wrong necessarily, or that you made a bunch of mistakes. That could be the case, but that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. It just means that what you were doing isn't going to work any longer moving forward. And it's really that that I want to convey to you. So you need to get your life in order. This is life letting you know you need to get your life in order. You need to work on certain areas of yourself. You need to seal up certain areas that have been shaky, that you have been unsure of in the past seasons, because that's not okay going to go into the next season. You know, the next season is going to come and you need to be prepared for it, or you're going to find more and more of these lagging seasons, these resting seasons, the reset seasons. And again, these aren't negative seasons. I don't want to speak badly about them. For my own self, actually, I learned to be so comfortable in this season of uncomfortableness, where I was in this transition phase where all of my old thoughts and all of my old emotions were coming up to the surface, that I just surrendered to that season. So I just said, like, let's get this all out. I want to be made completely whole. I don't need to hold on to anything from the past. You know, all of those things are creating space. They're creating distance between me and God. And I didn't want those. So I just surrendered to that. And I just allowed the Lord to have his way within me. And that's really what I pray for each of you watching this as well, that you would be able to trust him, that you would be able to just relax into that season and know that this is for your good. You're going to come into a season where you are going to need all of that space, the capacity that you have that is right now being taken up with the I coulda, woulda, shoulda thoughts and the old hurts and the pains, the abuse emotionally, maybe even physically, mentally, spiritually. All of those things need to get healed, because that is going to be the foundation of what you're going to build the next season of your life on. And allowing yourself to do you, to just be you, to say, right now I'm really in this season of where I need to just be gentle. I need to be still. I don't need to be worried about what am I going to get next. You know that all of that time that you spend in the stillness and the quiet, it'll be redeemed. It will absolutely be redeemed. God can do so much more, you know, in 1 minute than with him than an entire lifetime without him. So don't worry about you're going to be behind. Allow yourself that space. You have got to commit yourself to seeing that season of life out, because the faithfulness in your season of transition, the faithfulness that you have with allowing yourself to detox from all these emotions and thoughts and negative feelings, all of the past, allowing yourself to detox during that season, and your faithfulness to that is going to determine your faithfulness in the next season, which is likely to be a building season, a season where the time is redeemed, where you build and build for your new life moving forward, and that is all connected to your identity. So as you're healing, it's important to allow yourself the space and the time, of course, as I've been saying, to just feel whatever you're feeling, to be honest with yourself, to not try to hide the things that are ugly or the things that make even yourself uncomfortable with saying or feeling. You need to allow the space for those things to come up and for you to really face them honestly and deal with them, of course. But you also need to develop your own discipline during this time, okay? You need to be able to discipline yourself. And I'm talking about setting small things for yourself even during this rest time. So how much time are you going to commit to just being? How much time are you going to commit to being in prayer? How much time are you going to commit to getting together maybe with a group of friends, or getting into like a small group class at your church or whatever? How much time are you going to do that? And how disciplined are you going to be? You have to develop discipline during this time, as well as honor. You need to learn how to honor yourself. You need to learn how to honor the way that you were made. A lot of us have been thinking, well, I was made to do this thing over here, but in reality, that's just because we've thought that, or our parents have told us that, or society has said you need to go do this. And that's not actually the way that we were made. We were made to do something over here. And so be cultivating that honor within yourself, honoring other people. So honoring your commitments. Again, this goes back to discipline. Do you do what you say you're going to do? See, if you show up late for a coffee date with your best friend and you think it's no big deal because we're best friends, I don't really need to show up at this right time, or they know that I'm always late, or when you make excuses like that, you're setting the tone for how you're going to do the rest of your life. How you do anything is how you do everything. And so it's really important in these times of down seasons, when you have these restful periods, that you get your life in order. You got to get this stuff together. The third part that I want to stress to you to develop is your relationships. You cannot get to where you need to go in life without people. I don't care what your destiny is. All of us were meant to be interconnected with one another. And even if in this period of transition, you're not in the place where you're going to be for a long period of time or for your lifetime, it doesn't matter. You still have to cultivate those relationships and take care of those relationships because those are the ones that you have been given. So even if these are just temporary, this is just for a season, you don't neglect them. You don't just say like, oh, well, it doesn't matter because I'm only here for a few months or a few years. Those relationships and the way that you learn to interact with people, the way that you can connect with people, how open you're able to be with other people, the way that you're able to pour into other people's lives, all of that is going to dictate the capacity that you have in your next season when those relationships will matter for your destiny. They will matter. They will be lifelong relationships, a lot of them going into the next season. And so it's important that you're able to form real connections and real friendships, not just looking to take from others like, well, don't they know I'm in a season of healing? But being able to put yourself on the back burner sometimes and being able to pour into others and give to other people, that's going to dictate the capacities of the relationships and ultimately the success of the next relationship, the next phase of your life that you enter into. These periods of rest, these transition periods, these periods of downtime, these healing seasons, these are meant to cultivate the person, you, that version of you needs to be pulled out. It needs to come out from you. And that version needs to be available 100% all of the time to move into the next season, because that version of you is the one that can sustain what is coming to you in that season. It's that version of you that can run the company. It's that version of you that can be a great mom. It's that version of you that can be a great spouse. So you have to see where you are going. What is this season for? And what is after this season? You have to have vision for your life. You have to get in tune. This is again why it's so important to know who you are and what you're here to do. What is your purpose in life? And be connected to the one who holds all of that information. You have to have your identity down pat so that you can walk into the next season confident that you are the person that is meant to walk into that season. So kind of a little side note, but I really feel like I want to teach on this a little bit. We have heard a lot about the power of our thoughts, right? Our minds are incredible tools. They are incredible machines. They can make anything. And if we can think it, we can create it. We can make it come into the natural world. And while that is true, right, the power of visualization and all of that, I preach it, I practice it, but that is not the fullness of what needs to happen in order for you to create the life that you want. You can't just dream it up in your head and then see it come into reality. And it's not just about seeing it and then doing it, seeing it and doing it. There's a middle part, there's a second step, which is that your spirit needs to be in that place before your body gets there. So when you're thinking about your future, when you're thinking about who you are, when you think about the life that you want, in fact, just like do that with me really quick. Just close your eyes, think about where you want to be in 6 months, where you want to be in a year or in 5 years or in 10 years. Do you see that version of yourself? You see the things that are around you, the people that are around you. You feel the fullness of life. Anything that you want, think about that, your perfect life. If you could just quickly snap your fingers and have it, can you see it? Once you can see it, it's not enough to just see it and say, okay, these are the steps that I need to take. You have to actually be there emotionally. Your spirit, your soul needs to go and move into that place. You need to go into that place with your emotions and with your spirit. You actually have to occupy that territory before you get there with your body. Listen to what I'm saying, because it's not enough to just visualize something. There's a second part, which is you're putting your energy into cultivating that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like when I see something, I have to actually sow my energy into that life. I'm sowing into that. I have the mind of Christ, and also my spirit is limitless. It's already in the future. I'm made out of the stuff that is eternal. So I need to go into that realm with my soul and my spirit and actually sow into it. And then when I wake up, right, when I come back, when I look around and see my life does not look like that, I am able to take steps into creating that life in the natural as well. I can actually do acts. If I need to go to school, I go to school, right? If I need extra training, I get extra training. If I need to be counseled, I go to a counselor. All of those things, I can take those steps. See, a lot of times when I'm working with clients, one of the first questions that I'm asked almost every single time is, how do I know that I'm going to have another life? How do I know that this is possible? How do I know that I can get out of the state that I'm in and move into that state that I want? And it's because they're hesitant to think about the possibility, because they don't want to be disappointed. They don't want the hope deferred to make their heart sick. They don't want to get their hopes up, right? And then have it just come crashing down and find that they're in the same place again. Right? And I would say it's because we don't have the full mindset that we need to have on that situation. We allow the tension, we allow that what if to get in the way of us sowing fully into our future. And so what I mean by that is you have to press through. When you start to have those doubts, you need to know how to take authority over them and rebuke them. And you need to still push through that and sow into that future with your spirit and with your soul. So it's not enough, again, to visualize. It's not enough to declare it. It's not enough to just do your actions. You have to actually see yourself. When I was getting my Ph.D., when I was working on my doctorate, doing the schoolwork part of it, I was so focused on doing my schoolwork, going to my classes and getting my homework done, but I never lost sight of who I was going to be. I would write Dr. Angel Storm on my vision board, and I wrote down all the things I was going to do when I had all of the free time. That again, because my entire schedule revolved around school and work, because I still worked 40 hours even when I was going to school full time. And so I saw myself. I knew that I wasn't doing this for nothing. I knew that if I did these steps, I would get to my destination. I knew that if I continued to be faithful day in and day out, I was disciplined with my work. I was disciplined every day, got up every day, stuck to my schedule every day for 3.5 years. By the way, I was deployed for a portion of working on my dissertation. I was deployed to Afghanistan. So I worked on this every single day. This is not something that I'm preaching without practicing. But I always saw myself. I knew that if I was dedicated to doing this, I followed these steps, I would do it every day, and I visualized myself, yes, but I actually was emotionally invested. I was completely committed. Every part of me was committed to seeing that through. And there's many other examples of that in life that you can think of, right? Like that you were fully invested in. You knew you were going to see a return as long as you were dedicated to doing those steps. And a lot of times we don't get past the what ifs. And so that prevents us from sowing fully into our future. It's like, it might happen. And then when it doesn't happen, we're like, well, see, it wasn't going to happen. I'm glad I didn't get my hopes up. But it actually probably didn't happen because you didn't fully invest in it. It's because your hopes weren't up that you didn't get what you wanted. And so being aware of that and understanding that there's a second part. It's not enough to just visualize it. And it's not enough to just say the words and go do a plan. Like, okay, I got up today. We love to consume information. You remember my video last week or the week before on information gluttons? We consume the information, but we don't actually do the information. And that has got to change, because we're never going to heal if we don't push past the what ifs and actually consume the information and allow it to turn into fuel for our destinies. The down seasons in life, the resting seasons, the transition periods, whatever you want to call them, they are there to cultivate. They're there to pull out of us the version of ourselves that can sustain our future. They are there to pull out of us the thing that is already in it. We don't need to go looking around on the outside for something that's on the inside. We're looking in all of the wrong places. We need to be still and be alone with ourselves. We need to allow Holy Spirit to speak to our spirit and to weed out the rocky soil, the thorny soil, the hard soil of our hearts, and get to a place where He can flow through us, not just in us, but through us completely and fully and easily, and have no blockages. And it's because we still have the old mindset, right? We still have the Egypt mindset, if you will. We have got to get past it. And if you don't get past it, and if you cannot fully invest yourself into the future and pull out that greatness, pull out that character, that level of discipline, that level of honesty, that level of commitment in your own self, you can't pull that out, then you're destined to repeat the same behavior, because life is meant, everything that you face in life is meant to get you to the best version of you. And so you're going to continue to face obstacles and the same challenges. You ever notice that people who are constantly having stress in their lives, oh, this is stressful, this is stressful, this is stressful, they never seem to be not stressed? That's because they didn't learn the lesson. It's because they're not partnering with God to see, what do I need in order to face this thing and not be stressed out, not to have my whole world, turned upside down when I'm facing this issue. And so until we learn how to use our trials to turn into triumph, until we learn how to do that, we're going to keep facing, each one of us individually, each one of us as families, each one of us as a community, each one of us as a nation, as a state. We're going to continue to face the same obstacles and the same challenges over and over and over, because we haven't learned how to conquer it. Until we have the authority and the character that can withstand the battle and the triumph over that thing, we're never going to get past it. And so I hope this video has helped you understand what it means to truly be you or do you. I hope that this video has helped you understand how to deal with these kind of transition or healing seasons. I understand that it's very uncomfortable. I know firsthand how uncomfortable it can be to do something, especially if you're used to kind of always going. In relationships with narcissists, they often create such chaos around them that you never get any peace. And so being in a state of peace is very uncomfortable, because you're used to all of that chaos happening around you. And you have to learn to change what is normal to you. You have to learn to have a different view, to have a different mindset. So until you're comfortable in the peace, you have to learn to be uncomfortable in the quiet, and you have to learn how to get everything in tune with a different frequency, with a different level of being. And until you can do that and get to that place, at that place is when you can start to do the work. You can start to heal. You can start to process the things that you have gone through. And then you can start to work on the other areas that I mentioned: discipline, honor, and relationships. And so when you can do all of that, you can start investing your whole self. You can start sowing your entire being into your future and cultivating the character that is necessary to sustain your next season of life. Again, I'm Dr. Angel Storm, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel below and turn on the bell so that you can get all of the notifications when I upload new videos.